Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a sit down video and I'm going to be sharing with you my mid-year favourites. So it's June 2026. I can't believe we're in the middle of the year already. It's so crazy. I feel like it's flown by and I'm sure a lot of other people will agree. But I really wanted to do a mid-year favourites video because I really love watching these types of videos. They remind me of like 2014 like Zoella YouTube videos, and I used to be obsessed with like watching everyone's like monthly favourite videos, and so I thought I would condense all of my favourites within the past 6 months into one video. I've written down a list of different categories that I want to go into. There's quite a lot of things to get into, so I'm going to try and not ramble too much. There's a high chance that I'm going to do that anyway. So the first category is books. I've actually got a couple here to show you. So the first thing I want to mention is my Kindle. I actually went through like a really long phase of not using my Kindle at all because I was an avid, and still am, a physical book lover. But I've been reading before I go to bed instead of like going on my phone, and my Kindle works best for that because you don't need like any kind of reading light or anything, and it's a lot more comfortable. And so I've been reading a lot on my Kindle in the evenings and I've just been really loving it so far. I've read quite a few books already. I've been reading a lot of classics on my Kindle. Yeah, a lot. I've read like 2. But I've been reading classics on my Kindle because they're a lot easier to read and I feel like I enjoy them a lot more by reading them on my Kindle. I don't know why. But one of the books that I wanted to mention that I've read on my Kindle recently is The Handmaid's Tale, which is a modern classic by Margaret Atwood. I was going through like a really weird kind of Handmaid's Tale kick because I watched The Testaments and then I started watching the Handmaid's Tale TV show, and then I wanted to read the book. This is partly due to the fact that The Handmaid's Tale is kind of similar, like has similar themes to the book that I'm currently working on. So I kind of wanted to read it for inspiration, but I ended up really enjoying it. It's very different to anything that I've ever read before. It's super introspective, and for anyone that doesn't know, The Handmaid's Tale follows a handmaid called Offred and her life living in Gilead, which is a kind of alternate futuristic America where women are submissive completely to men, and there are these people called handmaids who are put into families of women who can't conceive children. It follows her kind of journey inside of her own mind as she grapples with this life that she's been forced into as a submissive woman within this patriarchal extremist society, if that makes sense. And it's super interesting, definitely different to anything I've read before. It's definitely quite a like terrifying like horror kind of book. I don't know if it was intended that way, but it feels kind of like a horror book because of just like kind of how similar some of the themes are happening actually right now within today's society. But I really enjoyed this book. It was such an insightful read and definitely has inspired me a lot for my book, which is what I wanted. The next book that I loved this year was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, who is the author of The Hunger Games. This follows Haymitch and his experience within the games during the Quarter Quell, where double the amount of tributes are sent into the games. And this book was so... all I can say is that this book was just really sad. It was so depressing. For me personally, this felt a lot more intense than maybe some of the other than maybe the original Hunger Games, but that's just my opinion. Honestly, it makes me a bit nervous for what the movie will be like, especially because just what goes on within the book. But I really enjoyed this and just think Suzanne Collins is a genius for even coming up with this idea in the first place. So to be able to have these like different stories that she's still able to put out is such a gift, and I can't wait for the film to come out, honestly. This has just made me even more excited, as well as a bit worried. My next favourite book of the year so far is Local Heavens, A.M. Fajardo. I think that's how you say her name. Also, this cover is so pretty. I actually got this in Berlin, so I actually think the UK cover is different to this, but I'm so glad I got this one. It's so pretty. This book took me a while to read because I think it definitely is different to books that I've read before. I'm trying a lot this year to branch out of my usual reading taste, and this was one of the books that I really wanted to read, especially because this author is a author tuber, and I'd watched the videos that she made whilst writing this, so to have the physical copy is kind of crazy when I think about it. But yeah, this book is a Great Gatsby retelling set in a cyberpunk universe. I've never read a cyberpunk book before, so this was definitely a unique read for me, and I ended up really enjoying it. I really took my time with it and tried to like digest it properly because it's so well written. I really liked this. I loved the characters. I loved how they all had like a flaw to them. They weren't all perfect. I also really loved the Filipino representation in this book with the main character, as well as the exploration of different relationships. This book was just such a joy and a pleasure to read, and super obsessed with the cover. And my final book on the list that I read recently is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayra. Sorry, I'm really bad at names. But this book was so much fun. I really enjoyed this. I actually bought this at the beginning of the year for my birthday and only picked it up recently. But I loved this book. It's such a fun, cozy kind of read. Some of the lines in this literally had me laughing out loud. It follows a girl called Evie who, as you can guess from the title, becomes an assistant to the villain. It basically just follows her journey as his assistant, as well as like incorporating some mystery into it. It's just an overall fun, cozy vibe, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to read. Okay, next I want to go into movies and television. This year I've actually been watching way more TV shows than I have been watching films, which is very unlike me. I just end up rewatching the same TV shows that I used to watch when I was younger. But this year I've been really watching a lot of TV shows, so there's actually more TV shows than there are films. But the first film, and this is probably my favourite film that I've watched so far this year, is called Marmalade. The director is called Keir O'Donnell, and it stars Joe Keery and Camilla Morone, who, if you don't know, is from Daisy Jones and the Six, and then obviously Joe Keery is from Stranger Things, which is one of the reasons why I watched the movie. This movie follows his character called Baron, and in the beginning he's in a cell with his cellmate, and they try to make a plan to escape from prison. But in the meantime, he's retelling this epic love story with this girl called Marmalade, and how she became part of the reason as to why he is in prison when they tried to rob a bank. This movie was so fun. I really enjoyed it. I remember putting it on as just like a film in the background and then actually getting hooked on it and just sitting and watching the entire thing. It's so funny, it's so playful, as well as being like deeply like heartfelt, and just the ending was just so good. It really topped it off for me, and yeah, I loved it. Next movie that I want to talk about is Suzume. This is an anime directed by Makoto Shinkai. It's about a girl who sets out on an adventure to save Japan after it experiences a kind of natural disaster. She has this ability to find supernatural forces, as well as like magical doors that are the reason as to why chaos is happening within Japan. And this film was just so fun. I loved it definitely has like Studio Ghibli animation vibes, but also it's just completely unique in its story. Loved the artwork was incredible, as well as the kind of humour. There was a lot of humour, but there was also a lot of, it was a bit similar to Marmalade. It was humorous, but it also had a lot of heart to it. Obviously, throughout her journey, she's meeting different people and different things are happening, and watching the way she interacts with that and friends she meets along the way. It was just very heartfelt, and the ending was just really stunning. Finally, for films, I have a documentary. This documentary is called Cover Up, and it is about a political journalist, and it's a sit-down interview with him called Seymour Hersh, and his experience being on like the front lines of some of the most horrific and most damaging moments within American political history, how they tried to cover it up whilst he went about to expose it through the power of journalism. The movie was so good. I'm not very well versed in my American political history, so to me this was very eye-opening. He reported on the Vietnam War and the camps in Iraq that were set up by American politicians at the time, and it was so interesting, and he was such an interesting character as well, because he was obviously very passionate about what he was doing, and I felt like he wanted to talk a lot about it, but he also wanted to protect the people that were involved in either helping him get these kind of articles out or were actually directly involved with the matter itself. This was such a good watch. It's on Netflix. Obviously, the events that are talked about are very graphic and not very pleasant, obviously. So make sure to check the trigger warnings for that. But other than that, it was such a good documentary, and to be honest, I still think about it quite regularly just because of how much it had an impact on me. And I also made my dad watch it, so there we go. Moving on to TV shows. I was really in my K-drama phase at the start of the year, and I watched quite a few K-dramas. My favourite ones were Reply 1988, which I watched for the first time, and 2521. Both of these, if you watch any K-dramas in your life, just watch both of these. They're so good. There's like so many different themes. Both of them kind of deal with adolescence and growing up and how it feels to experience your first relationship as well as balancing your friendships and pursuing your passions. And 2521 is mostly about like what it means to pursue your passions, whereas 1988 is just a really heartfelt, wholesome show about two different generations, the children and the parents, and their experience living in a like close-knit neighborhood where they're all kind of best friends. And it's so good. It's funny, it's like heartfelt, there's sad moments, there's happy moments, and both of them are just like the perfect K-dramas. It's like I couldn't recommend anything better, especially 2521. That was really, I think I cried to be honest, because I just loved it so much. I also watched this year, and I think it came out this year as well, The Other Bennett Sister. Guys, I was addicted to this show. I think I watched it 3 times repeatedly, like one after the other, just because of how much I loved it. When people say like this show is about nerds finding like their passion for each other and for finding a mutual understanding which kind of leads them to get together, they're not lying. This movie is about being a nerd and also embracing it. And I loved it. I loved how the main character, Mary Bennett, for those of you who don't know, The Other Bennett Sister is about Mary Bennett, who is kind of like the cast aside sister. She's not considered pretty or worth marrying, I suppose. She is very intelligent and she has other interests aside from, you know, what most women were kind of interested in, which was getting married. It follows her as she kind of pursues her own life in London when she moves to nanny some children, and the journey of like self-discovery as well as like watching her flourish within different relationships where people accept her for more than just how she looks and embraces her intelligence and her humour and her kind-heartedness and everything. And it was just such a beautiful TV show. It was very like heartwarming, and I loved the relationship between Mary Bennett and Mr. Hayward. It was so good. I was literally, me and my sister watched it together and we were literally giggling the whole time. just because of how wholesome the relationship was. And then next we have One Piece, the live action version. I actually didn't watch One Piece the anime before watching this. I kind of randomly put it on, to be honest, because I was seeing so much hype around the show. From the first episode I was literally hooked, and me and my youngest sister watched it together, and it's so good. It follows a boy called Luffy who wants to become king of the pirates, and in order to do that he has to find the One Piece. And on his journey of doing this, he meets people and gathers a crew, and obviously encounters danger along the way. But what I love so much about this show is just how silly and unserious it is, and the costumes are so good. I can't really comment on the accuracy of the live action versus the anime because I've never watched the anime, but I've seen people say that it is very accurate. So yeah, it's so good. Really, for TV shows we have Merlin. I'm rewatching Merlin and it is bringing me the most joy and happiness I've ever felt in my life. It's so good. I was obsessed with Merlin growing up. Every Saturday it would be Merlin followed by Doctor Who, Matt Smith version, and watching Merlin now is just bringing me so much comfort. And the graphics, like the CGI, is so tacky, but at the time you would be like, wow, that is actually a real dragon. But it's just so good. And you know what, Game of Thrones, House of Dragon could never. They just could never, because Merlin will just always be on top for me. Next we have music. There are so many good albums that have come out this year that there's just too many for me to like say in this video, but I've written down 4 albums that have come out this year that I've loved, as well as some like honourable mentions. So the first one is This Music May Contain Hope by Ray. This is unlike anything I have ever listened to. I don't think you could actually listen to the album like without listening to it from start to finish, because it's just incredible. It's kind of like a musical, I guess. It tells a story through each song as well as collectively, and in each song it does exactly what the album title says, where throughout each song there is like a glimpse of hope within her lyrics, and she's just an incredible artist. This album is definitely just like a massive feat in itself. But I wrote down some of my favourite songs from the album. So Lifeboat, Joy, The WhatsApp Shakespeare, and Goodbye Henry, which features Al Green, which is crazy. Those are like my top songs from the album. The album, I don't want to mispronounce it, so don't judge me. It's Arirang by BTS. I feel like this album, when it came out, low-key had like really mixed opinions, because I feel like some people kind of thought that it didn't really sound like BTS, or a lot of people were wanting the kind of idol era, which is totally understandable, to be honest, because that was like an elite era. But on the first listen I was kind of like, okay, this is pretty good. And then the more I listened to it, the more I just fell in love with the sound and the songs and everything. And I watched the documentary, I watched the live concert. Well, I didn't watch it live, but I watched the concert, and I just can't. I'm so excited that BTS are finally back making music that we're able to hear. My favourite songs on the album are obviously Body to Body. I think that's the best song on the album, and I honestly wish they put it as their main single instead of Swim. However, I do really love Swim. This is 2.0. I feel like their dance and the music video is one of my favourites they've ever put out. It's so satisfying and I just love it. It's so good. It's so good. And then the next one is Like Animals, which kind of reminds me of a Maroon 5 song. It kind of has this like nostalgia sound to it, and I really enjoy it. And then of course I have to mention Harry Styles' new album, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. Don't freak out, but I'm actually going to see Harry Styles next week, which is crazy. It's crazy. Very different to his other two albums. Harry's House is my favourite album of his, which I always feel really guilty saying because I love Fine Line and I love his self-titled album. But Harry's House just holds a very special place for me because of like the experience of watching it live, and all of the songs came out. But this is very different, this album. Musically, it's a lot more mellow, I think, compared to Harry's House. See, there's like some techno elements to it. One of the things that I remember saying was that Harry Styles has an ability to kind of experiment with different genres and yet make it so authentically his, and I really love that because it's like something new but also something familiar as well. But my favourite song on the album, like top tier song, is Carla's song, and I think that might be my favourite, one of my all-time favourite songs of his. To me, it kind of felt like a kind of epilogue to Fine Line, like the actual song Fine Line. Kind of feels like a continuation. Like if Fine Line is like a dull ache or like the aftermath of like pain, then Carla's song is like when you come out the other side of the tunnel. Does that make sense? I'm not very good at explaining, but that's how Carla's song feels to me, and I love it. It's literally my favourite song. I also loved American Girls, Are You Listening Yet, and Come Out Roses. Those are my favourites off of the album. Obviously I love them all, but those are my top. Sorry, not sorry. I also have The Great Divide by Noah Khan. When I tell you there's like so many songs so many albums that have come out this year, I'm not joking. But The Great Divide has come out, and I'm a big fan of Noah Khan's previous album, Stick Season. I listened to that album a whole bunch as I was writing my first novel, so it holds a very special place for me. I really like this album. I still think Stick Season is my favourite, however this album is still really amazing. Listened to it quite a few times now, and my favourite songs are Doors, Pay Time Off, and Headed North. Those are like my top three, I think, but it honestly changes day to day. I also have some honourable mentions for songs. The Cure by Olivia Rodrigo. I think her album literally comes out tomorrow, if I'm not wrong, or the day after. But this song is so good. Olivia Rodrigo, I wish I got tickets to her tour, but it was too expensive. Artists, their album Colour Outside the Lines, I've been listening to a lot, and my sister actually put me on Cortis, and I've been really, really, really loving their music. It's really fun. Definitely recommend. Hit the Wall by Gracie Abrams. There's a bit in it where like the song kind of changes, like it lifts up a bit, if you know the bit I mean, and to me that bit is so satisfying. And then Prove Your Love by Fleetwood Mac, which is a song that my other sister showed me, and I've been listening to it so much. I have a couple of miscellaneous things that I wanted to share. The first thing is the radio / BBC Sounds. My mum actually got me this radio for Christmas because before then I'd been listening to the radio a lot on my phone. I'm not one of those people who can like sit in silence. I always have to have something on in the background, and a lot of the time when I'm at work I spend a lot of time by myself, so I always have to have like music on or something. And to be honest, it's nice to have like music and somebody talking, which is why I enjoy the radio so much. So my mum got me this radio. It's the Roberts Revival Petite 2 radio. Really good. It has like literally all of the radio stations, as well as being like a Bluetooth speaker. But I also use the BBC Sounds app at work, which has like all of the BBC radio stations, as well as like podcasts. And you know, if you miss out on like a radio show that you enjoy, you can listen to it again on like a catch-up thing. And I've honestly been finding a lot more music by listening to the radio. My next favourite is my journal ecosystem. These aren't even all my journals, but this is my journal ecosystem. I have been really loving how I found a kind of routine and how I figured out a way where I actually fill out all of my journals, and instead of just like filling them up halfway and then moving on to something else. This is my main journal, which is like a diary, where I basically write my thoughts and my feelings and my life. Yeah, this is that. But if you want like a full in-depth journal ecosystem tour, let me know, because I'd be really happy to do that. Next we have my hokers, or my hockers. These are them. They're a bit dirty, so don't look at them. These are the Rincorn 4 hokers. I've been on my running journey this year and it's been a lot of fun, and I would honestly say, like, when it comes to running, you don't need any fancy equipment. But what I will say is, if you are serious about getting into running, invest in a decent pair of running shoes. As well as that, I also really loved Couch to 5k. I use the NHS app. I know there's like different apps now, but I use the NHS one. It's really good. It's totally free, and it takes you on a 9-week program of being able to run, like, start from nothing and start running like 5Ks or running for 30 minutes straight. Completed it and I'm super proud of myself for finishing it. If you're wanting to get into running but have no experience, I 100% recommend using a Couch to 5k app, especially because not only do they like help you with your run and like do guided runs, but they also offer tips and tricks of how to get the best out of your running experience. I also loved Brick. This is Brick, and this is my dad actually bought this, but Brick, that's what it looks like. It's basically like a thing. It's got a magnet on the back, so you can put it on your fridge or wherever. We put it on the fridge, and you can tap on and off your phone. So you tap your phone onto it and it locks your phone, and then to unlock your phone you have to tap onto this again. And it's been really good for me because I did a lot of doom scrolling before I went to sleep. So I actually set up a schedule on my phone, and basically like an hour before I go to sleep it bricks my phone, and the only way to unbrick my phone is by getting out of bed and tapping on this. I have so much more time because I'm waking up earlier and I'm not lying in bed for hours like doom scrolling again. And yeah, I've just been really enjoying this. So those were all of my favorites so far this year. I'm sure there's a lot more, but if I listed like everything, we'd be here all day. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know what some of your favorites are this year, and I keep saying this year as if the year's already over, but let me know what your favorites are within the past 6 months of the year. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will be back again with another video soon. Bye.